What was the marketing scenario for you like at the start of your business?
It was brutal. I was entirely wrong about the market I was entering. I had postcards, ads in the newspaper, tons of marketing. I spent a fortune in advertising. And out of 135 tickets over the course of the series, I sold 2. That was my entry into opening a culinary school.
Hello, I'm Marcus Freed and welcome to the Freedthinker. This is where we talk to business owners and thought leaders, look at cutting-edge marketing techniques, what's working in today's business climate, how to market on a shoestring, and essential skills to get heard above the noise of the competition. Welcome to today's Freedthinker podcast. My guest today is Laurie Moldawer, who is the founder of Park City Culinary Institute. Her school helps people start and grow food-related businesses and has some famous alumni, including the founders of Crumbl cookies and Kodiak cakes. Born in New York City, Laurie is a graduate of Le Cordon Bleu in Paris and moved to Utah to become a better skier. Welcoming today's Freedthinker, Laurie Moldawer. Hello, Laurie.
Hello, Marcus.
I could edit it, but life unedited, life unfiltered can be good. So, bonjour. You're currently in Philadelphia, and you're between there and Park City, Utah. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I think you actually nailed the pronunciation of Cordon Bleu.
3 times.
That was perfect.
So how is life? How is America? How is Philly?
Life is good. I just got a second home in Philly and I'm loving it. I'm in a neighborhood that has such great restaurants, so many wonderful people. My neighbors have all come out and said hello, and it's just been so nice getting to spend some time here.
That's fantastic. It's a beautiful city. I was there a couple of summers ago for a wedding and I love Philly. And Park City, having just been to Park City this year for the Sundance Film Festival, that's an amazing place. So how long have you lived in Park City for as well?
So let's see. I moved to Park City 11 years ago, and then I spent almost 10 years there and recently moved down to Salt Lake City. But Park City was great. I mean, getting to roll out of bed and ski at some of the best areas. We don't just have the Park City Mountain, but we also have Deer Valley. And then down the road, Alta, Snowbird, and Brighton, and just so many choices, Solitude, and just so many great places to ski. It's an interesting life out there. It's fun.
I bet. It's pretty amazing. So can you tell me a bit about the Park City Culinary Institute, your baby, what you've created?
Park City Culinary Institute got created after I moved to Utah because people wanted a culinary school there. And I had just graduated from Cordon Bleu in France. And so Park City Culinary Institute is kind of like a French version of a culinary school. It's not your typical 2-year college. Most of the culinary schools in the United States are 2-year or 4-year colleges. Our school is shorter. Our school doesn't have math classes or history classes. We teach people how to cook, different cooking techniques, French pastry techniques. We focus on the art of baking and of making savory dishes. And it's a boutique culinary school that to date has graduated. I think we've hit over 1,000 graduates since the school started 10 years ago.
That's phenomenal. And what kind of qualification do they come out with?
We offer certificates in cuisine, which means you know how to cook meat and poultry and seafood. We have a pastry and baking certificate, which means you know how to make French tarts and croissants and macarons, eclairs, chocolate, how to mold chocolate. And then there's a third certificate in the culinary arts, which combines both savory and pastry.
It sounds phenomenal. It sounds like Sorry?
Those are the 3 primary certificates that we offer.
Right.
We also have a craft mixology class too.
Phenomenal. Is this what you'd envisage in terms of this level of growth and this many students, this many graduating students, when you began the business those 11 years ago?
No way. No, I had no idea. We were selling classes where I'd have 3 people buy tickets and I'd have to call my friends and have them come and sit in the seats just to look full. And I had a group of friends that knew that every time I called them, they get a free cooking class and dinner. So I had no idea we'd have this many classes, this many students, this many graduates all over the world at this point now. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's brilliant. So let's actually jump in on that. Thank you for being on the podcast. The Freedthinker podcast is very much about marketing techniques helping newer entrepreneurs or established entrepreneurs find new ways of marketing and thinking more broadly for growing their business. And I love the way that you hustled it at the beginning in terms of getting friends in, picking up the phone. They're going to get a freebie. They're going to get something of value to them. Show up now. We've got to start. We've got a class in 9 minutes time. You're going to get dinner. Get your skis on, come down the hill or go up the hill or go cross country. So
look like you've never been here before.
Yeah, pretend you don't know me. So tell me about it. What was it like at the beginning? Did you have fears? Were there concerns? Was it just go straight in? We're American and we're proud. We'll pick up the phone. Like what was the marketing scenario for you like at the start of your business?
It was brutal. I was entirely wrong about the market I was entering. I had come from New York City. I'd studied in France, and here I was in Utah. And the values I grew up with were totally different than the values of the market I had entered. But I wasn't, I guess, experienced enough to realize how different it was. And so I kept failing. I kept treating Utahns like New Yorkers, and Utahns are not New Yorkers. I would schedule classes based on what I thought people would want to know. I remember having this amazing experience in New York with a pastry chef, this brilliant cake decorator, and arranging for her to come to Utah because her classes in New York kept selling out. And I had postcards, ads in the newspaper, tons of marketing. I spent a fortune in advertising. And out of 135 tickets over the course of the series, I sold 2. That was my entry into opening a culinary school. Nobody cared.
How much money and time did you lose? Or obviously we'll put a positive spin on it, but how much did that cost you to get that?
In her class, probably $1,000. And then in every class after that I tried to schedule, I actually was calculating, I was losing $1,000 every time. And I did not have thousands of dollars. I came, I was living with a bunch of people on, in those fraternity style houses you live in when you move to a ski town, the first time you move in when you're, what was I, my 30s. I was paying hardly anything in rent, living on the cheap, and suddenly spending more money than I was on rent every single time I organized a cooking class. It was awful. Absolutely
That's
awful.
fairly brutal.
Yeah.
So what kept you going? How did you stay with it?
Oh, that's a good question. I was going to give up many times, and right before I gave up for good, it occurred to me that the format I was selling was too expensive to market. The amount of effort I was putting in to sell one class for 3 hours was the same amount of effort that it would take to maybe sell something longer. So if I was going to put the effort in to do it, instead of collecting $85, what if I could collect $5,000? So I tested the idea of at the time, I think it was an 8-week course. Up until that point, I was just selling 3-hour cooking classes, come for dinner, we'll serve wine. We had a liquor license from the beginning. And I said, well, what if we did a course that was 8 weeks long? And that course somehow ended up selling out the first try. And it was remarkable because it didn't take that much more to sell a course, which at the time the tuition was $5,000, than it took to sell an $85 ticket. And that is what kept me going, because once I cracked that puzzle, we were able to have some traction to continue going.
That's amazing. And what did you do differently so that you weren't losing the $1,000 every time you were doing the new class, the new extended level class?
The difference was the amount of time going into one transaction. So if it costs, let's say, a $500 ad in the newspaper to get 3 tickets at $85, but that same $500 ad could get 3 people to pay $5,000, there's suddenly return on investment. And that was the difference. It was the cost, the relationship between the cost of advertising to the revenue I was able to collect off those ads.
That's
it was
amazing.
Like selling a car versus selling a piece of paper, but it's still the same advertising cost.
That's amazing, because the marketing technique was working. Most people would just walk away, give up and walk away. Actually, what you did was you changed the price of the product and suddenly it worked, if I'm hearing correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's pretty brilliant.
It was being able to sell the same customer on a larger sale, a $5,000 sale to the same customer, because it's really the acquisition cost of one customer that was my issue and always has been our challenge, is the acquisition cost of one customer. And trying to do, Coca-Cola or any consumer products company, when they acquire a customer, they're acquiring them for life. Somebody's drinking Coca-Cola for lunch, for dinner, for months, for years. So you can have that acquisition cost because of volume. But when you're only selling them an $85 class, and it might be something they do 3 times in their life, you can't have a high acquisition cost. And it's hard to get new customers.
And when you bought into this high level customer or higher spending customer, were they repeat customers, or were they able to get you into a new bandwidth of referrals of people who are also willing to spend $5,000 rather than $85,000?
Yes, referrals are a key part of our school. The goal 10 years ago is when we really started, 10, 11 years ago, was to be able to offer more courses to the same person. And the statistic I heard at the time is that 5% of people who do a level 1 course in a culinary school will continue to a level 2. And I've always looked at our enrollment and said, okay, when will we have enough graduates so we could actually offer level 2, knowing that maybe only 5% of our graduates will enroll? And we're just at the cusp of it now, 10 years later, with 1,000 graduates. There are 50 people who might do a level 2, which could fill, let's say, 4 cohorts if we did it. So we have had to focus on referrals, and referrals are a key part of the business. My staff, my team, they hear me every day saying we have to do everything we can to make sure every person is ecstatic so that they refer their friends. Everything we do is about making them so happy that they refer their friends.
This is one thing, Laurie, I love about America. The approach, I really mean it. I really mean it. The approach to customer service, saying we have to do everything we can do to make sure our customer is ecstatic. England, not so much. You don't get that over here. You step into a store and they're doing you a favor to show up. They build the service into the receipt. So there's no sort of merit related tipping for the most part, and there's a lack of incentive. But the American spirit, what I see as the American spirit, it is great.
It is very different. I remember waiting 45 minutes for a table. It wasn't in England, but it was somewhere where they don't tip. And the waiter or waitress, for 45 minutes, couldn't be bothered to come over and even say hello, because like you said, there's no incentive. I don't know if it's good or bad that we operate that way, but you're right, we definitely do.
It's different. I think it works. I definitely noticed that there is that feeling of we want to help you, and but this customer experience for the Park City Culinary Institute, it also makes sense within Park City having higher price points, because it seems like a very expensive place. Certainly, I remember, I was only there for the Sundance Film Festival when prices were through the roof, $10,000 to rent a house for 3 days kind of thing. But, and how many staff have you got at the moment?
We have staff of about 7, I think it is. We have a team for admissions, 2 people starting in a couple weeks, and a third, so that'll be 3, and 3 chefs. And we have an administrative assistant and me, and we're growing. We're always looking to hire. So it's a small team, but they're strong. They're very strong.
Right, absolutely. And what was the difference from the beginning marketing push to now? Did you see different phases? If at the beginning you were doing the ads and you had this cost per acquisition, a particular strategy, did that change over the years, or was it just a case of scaling it, more ads, more classes, more things available?
It has been such a lesson, and the more we learn, the better we get. And it has changed dramatically. I would say every few months we're getting better at what we do. Learning how to do lead generation. In the very beginning, we didn't even know we needed lead generation. I didn't have a CRM in the beginning. And so people would call, I would take their calls on my cell phone, and I would try to track them to the extent I could, but I didn't have any system to follow up with them. I didn't have a sales team with a schedule to call them back. Didn't have landing pages on our website. So it's been a learning experience all these years. Every few months it gets better.
It's amazing as well, people that I think with starting businesses, let's say entrepreneurs who are younger in the cycle aren't necessarily even turned on to what a CRM is, having a customer relationship manager, having some kind of software beyond just a few numbers in the phone. Which system do you use at the moment?
We just switched to a system called Peak, Peak, and I forget the back end. It's something like High Life.
Mm.
something. There are a lot of CRMs that use that same back end, and it's a really nice CRM, customer relationship management system, because it's got buckets. So you can see people move through the pipeline in each of those different buckets as you're talking to them, and they apply, and then they pay, and then they do some paperwork, and then they graduate, and then you have the opportunity to sell them on another course. All those buckets are organized in Peak.
Thank you. I will check it out. You've got a very broad background, also broad approach in terms of the lead gen and seeing how much it's going to cost to actually get one student. And you told me various things before the interview in terms of it could cost $7,000 for PPC to get one student during COVID. And then you've got these agencies who are charging for leads, but you don't want to do that because it's easy to generate a bad lead. And then getting to this point of predictable data. I mean, this is hours of potential conversation, but within that whole realm, where are you at now, or how do you explain this to people in forms of, here's some advice, here's a good way of going about it?
If you're selling something that is larger than a soda, something that's a $5,000 transaction, or 10 or 15, you need a CRM. You need to generate leads, and you need to chase those leads, because you can't just sell a $5,000 product and assume somebody's going to buy it without you following up with them. You're going to need to be able to call them over and over again, lots of touches, at least 5 touches, in order for them to enroll or, buy your product. And so lead generation is when you actually track your leads. So a consumer products company like a Coca-Cola, they can build their brand just by getting their name out there, and then people go to the store and see Coke and it's $1, so you just buy it. But if you're buying a car, you're buying even a vacation, you have to talk to someone several times in order to do it. So pay-per-click on Google lets you get access to people's contact information. You bid against other companies, and when you bid against them, your ad goes higher on the page on Google, and you hope that people click through to your website. And then if you're really into lead generation, you don't just take them to your website, you have a landing page. And a landing page is a separate system from a regular website, because it's kind of a dead end. There's not much navigation on there. You can't scroll around and do more research. It's basically, give us your phone number and let us call you so that you stop researching on your own. We want an opportunity to talk with you. And those leads come into your database, and then you start nurturing them. And so that's the system of lead generation. And now I'm trying to remember the exact question you asked, Marcus.
It's fine. Let's go on that. Are you primarily using Google Ads, or are you using Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? Where's your
all of it? So we actually are constantly trying to measure it, because sometimes Google's cheaper, sometimes Facebook's cheaper, and you have to look at your cost per enrollment by channel. And it's really hard to do that too, because you have a lot of channels that overlap. But we're constantly trying to refine our cost per enrollment through those different channels. And sometimes channels cap out. Like in Utah, we get to a certain point where Google will only deliver so many leads. So you have to choose a different channel.
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about that $7,000 cost per enrollment, those were bad days where it was taking that much money in ad spend to get one student to enroll in a course, because we didn't have the mix right and we weren't converting at the right rates. Converting means, collecting money based on your leads.
It's interesting to hear. Google, with their whole shift last year to the PMax campaigns, the Performance Max, for those who aren't familiar with it, it came with a big promise of, we're going to be able to utilize AI. We're going to make it a lot easier for whether it's the agencies or the business owners who are running it. Did you find any shift with that, or are you doing specific search campaigns or display campaigns? I don't know if this is what you're doing hands-on. Do you know what you're doing within Google to make that work within their various options?
Whenever there's been an AI prompt, in the beginning, I would take it at value and say, yes, use the AI, let's give it a shot. And the agencies I would be working with would always push back and say, don't do that, let's craft it ourselves. I think it's too unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen. It's a black box. Not to say it wouldn't work, but it's probably better for people that don't have the budget to hire brains to do it. If you have a team that can actually analyze the data and look at the keywords, I feel like you're a little bit safer because you have more control. So sometimes it might work better, sometimes it might work worse. But if you want to be fully predictable, having a human there and sticking to your human analysis of the situation is going to be a little bit more predictable than the AI black box, because you don't know when Google's going to. I mean, a lot of people talk about the Culinary Institute of America, which is also the CIA, which is also a government agency. So if a computer saw that we're talking about the CIA, it could suddenly start advertising to people who want to join a government spy agency when we're trying to promote a culinary school, just because it's not a human. And so I think there could still be a lot of mistakes made with artificial intelligence.
It's interesting. There's a video, a presentation. I can't remember what her name was, but she's a Facebook expert and was running the Facebook, the Meta auto ads using the AI generated stuff, and at the same time running an equal budget purely on human choices. And the AI was beating out. And I think Google is currently getting better and better with the PMAX to beat out humans. So, but you know what's working for you. Do you work with external agencies, or do you have it in-house when you're doing these?
Mostly external, although we micromanage our agencies because we've been burned so badly in the past.
With so people
we let them run with it. Yeah, my first agency, what they did was they spent, I want to say 60% of our budget on leads that would never convert. So most agencies try to get you focusing on the cost per lead, and they wanted to get the cost per lead down to some stupid low number. Let's say like, I don't know, something very low. And so we were a private school. We didn't have federal financial aid. We needed people who could pay for school, and they advertised to people looking for jobs. So basically 60% of our leads were unemployed because they followed a landing page and a whole system targeted to seek out people who were looking for a job. And it's really easy to get people looking for a job back in that economy. This is 10 years ago, to fill out a form because they're looking for a job, but they were never going to become a customer. So we've had to micromanage our agencies and actually see the keywords, because back then they wouldn't share the keywords. I chased them for months before I finally saw the keywords. And the day I saw it, it was like, you guys are fired. This is unreal. So we micromanage. So we're very much involved, but we're not initiating it. We let the agencies do the draft and put together the campaigns.
It makes sense. Yeah. If you've been through a situation just as recently as COVID where you're paying $7,000 for a customer who's going to book a $5,000 workshop, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
What's one thing you would do differently if you were to go back, say, 5 years, 8 years? What's something you would advise yourself then if you knew then what you knew now? Or if you knew now what you knew then? If you knew then what you knew now, what's one thing you would go back and advise yourself?
It's a tough one because my advice wouldn't be that feasible. I think that the biggest challenge I had, and most new businesses have, is spending money. And because you haven't done it before, it's harder to know where to spend it. But spending money is the trick to making money. If you look at established businesses, the executives always have lots of assistants. You have a lot of junior level people supporting and leveraging the time of the decision makers, of the leaders of the organization. And when you're a startup, you don't want to spend that money. So I spent a lot of my time doing dishes because I didn't want to pay for a dishwasher. And if I had used my time to build the school instead, then we would have grown faster. And at the time, the idea of paying a dishwasher was way too scary. So I just figured, okay, I have to be smart. I can't spend money on a dishwasher. I should be doing our own dishes, because what a waste of money that would be to hire someone, when really, in order for business to grow, you really have to use your time for good purposes. And if that means spending, today I pay consultants a ridiculous amount of money, but it's taking things off my plate. And I never had the courage to do that when I first started.
What's an example? I thought when you were talking about washing dishes, I thought you were being metaphorical. Mm-hmm. Then I thought, actually, maybe you're being literal because you're cooking stuff. I was like, no, you're not literally washing dishes. Maybe you are, but you're talking about consultants. Right, it was the first thing. What's an example?
I was definitely washing dishes.
Oh, you were washing. You were washing dishes.
Oh yes, yeah. Because we would do cooking classes, and at the end of the class, I was doing the classes. So I would go to the store. I mean, it got so bad. I remember realizing when I was in the shower before I'd gone to the store for a cooking class that the liquor store that I had sent my order to was going to close at 5. And I thought I had all night to get there and I had more time. And at 4:45, I got out of the shower with shampoo in my hair, ran to the liquor store, then realized I had to go to the grocery because I was running out of time because it was so tight. Ran into people I knew because I had shampoo in my hair, and I looked up at them while I was bending down in the aisle. I was hands-on. I was doing everything. And then at the end of the event, everybody would go home and I would do the dishes. So it was dishes.
So now you've got a dishwasher. Okay, good. And what's one example?
I haven't done dishes in years. It's been amazing.
Makes sense. What's one example of a consultant who you're paying a ridiculous sum to who is providing a return at the moment? What's one area where you're getting that support?
I have several, actually. I read about, I think it was Steve Jobs, who had 32 advisors and consultants, and the more you have, the better you are, and the more you grow. So I've been adding a lot. I would say, I mean, they're all valuable in their own ways. One consultant that really adds a ton of value is helping us. He's training the sales team. He's listening to their calls. He's reviewing their metrics every week. He's building automations. An automation would be a text message or an email that goes out automatically that doesn't require us to maybe manage, but is targeted to some specific action or thing that's happening. If somebody calls us and we miss the phone call, a text message goes out and says, sorry, we missed your call. So he helps build more and more automations, scripts for the sales team. He's been helping with a ton of stuff. And it's not that I couldn't have done it, but he's doing it faster and better while I can focus on other things.
Brilliant. That is brilliant. And I think as a last question, no, it won't be. I've got two questions. What's one thing that you're enjoying about the business right now? Or one thing you still love about cooking, love about being around that?
Oh, there's several. I think my team right now is just getting along so well and collaborating so well that it's really great to see the team develop. So that I think is one wonderful thing. And then the other is just having food, just seeing that the food that gets created at the school is just a great, it's fun. Like when they make fresh pasta, you get to try it and you get to eat new foods and get to experience new flavors. And the kitchen always smells amazing, and we're working in the kitchen, so we always have great aromas while we're working. So those are probably the two things, the team growing and the food we get to see them make, that I still enjoy. I enjoy all of it, but those are the two things I think are highlights. Wonderful.
What's something that you would advise a new entrepreneur, someone who's about to start up or has started up and is struggling getting this idea of, well, how much is it costing to acquire any customer or just to get the word out, to get something up and running?
I would say don't be afraid to change. The one thing I've learned, I had another company before this, and the initial business that I tried to sell wasn't going to sell. I wanted to do virtual models where you could try clothing on and then see if it fit you online before you ordered it. And that business wasn't going to work. And so I had to change my business. And I think a lot of times people commit to a certain path and it's not that viable. You have to be willing to change paths. And for me back then, the way I was able to recoup all my losses was I changed paths and started helping other companies as a service provider. And by helping them with their technology, that I got to meet them and get to know their technology because of what I was doing, I was able to recoup my losses, where if I continued to try and sell virtual models, I would have just kept losing money. Same with this. If I kept trying to sell cooking classes without growing to the next level, it wouldn't have ever worked. Or, there are some schools that have figured it out. It does work for some. I wouldn't necessarily have figured it out fast enough. And I feel like having the flexibility to change and try different products and keep trying things until something hits is the trick, because eventually something will hit. Whereas if you stick to the same thing, it may not, or it may take too long.
Great answer, and thank you for the inspiration.
Marcus, this is fun. Thank you for letting me be on your show and be a part of what you're doing with this podcast.
It's an honor. Thank you, Laurie. I really appreciate your time and your generosity of spirit and sharing your wisdom. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
What do you think is currently working in the world of marketing?
social pressure marketing. It's not social media. It's
What
social
is social
pressure
pressure
marketing.
marketing? What is that?
So I coined it. I want to take credit if this actually takes off and people start using it. This is my coined expression. And social pressure marketing is, what are other people doing? So social media taps into social pressure marketing, but social pressure marketing can be so much more than social media. So for example, I was in New York City the other day, and in Utah, I have a home in Utah. Social pressure marketing is around who can find the sweetest cookie, like Crumbl cookies. Massive amounts of people go to Crumbl because they want the sweetest cookie. In New York, it's brunch. So I was meeting my friend, and she lives in the Village. So of course she would suggest a place that had a 3-hour wait for brunch, because that's what you do in New York. You go to the one place that has a 3-hour wait.
Why?
And we were waiting, and I was like, what?
Everyone's so calm and patient. Is it because everyone's so calm and patient in New York? They're like,
It's funny. It is one of the few times that New Yorkers can actually be patient and wait for something and not need immediate gratification, is brunch. And people were perfectly willing to wait on this line. And eventually we gave up. We went around the corner, and there was a diner, and walked right in, got a table right away, and had a breakfast that would have been pretty much exactly the same as the breakfast with the 3-hour wait. But there's that social pressure to go to the trendy brunch spot. And you have social pressure around, restaurants and bars. So I went to high school with Noah Tepperberg, and I don't know if you know the brilliant Noah Tepperberg, but he built a lot of nightclubs. He built Tao, Marquee. And what he would do is he started his own business this way, and then he set up a new business around it. He would have famous people come to his clubs, and by having the famous people there first, that's what would attract other people to come. It was the social pressure of Paris Hilton's at this bar, so we have to keep going there too until she shows up so we can say we hung out with Paris Hilton. And it became so effective. He had an entire company designed around, if you were going to launch a restaurant or a club, you would call Noah and say, hey, can you send Paris Hilton? Can you send Britney Spears to my bar or club? And this was before social media, but it was that social pressure of, well, this is where Britney hangs out. This is where Paris hangs out. And that social pressure marketing is what drives everybody to do what they do, especially when you're, I would say, under 50.
And how do you apply that across to the Park City Culinary Institute?
We do pick into it a little bit. We try to let people know how many people just like them have done something similar with us. So if we get a phone call from someone over 50, usually they're concerned about going to culinary school over 50. And so we let them know, we actually have dozens and dozens and dozens of graduates who are over 50. Our oldest graduate was 80. And we let them know that so that they don't feel like they're the first 50-year-old to go to culinary school with us. It's just letting them know that they're not the first, letting them know they're joining a successful group of people that are just like them doing the same thing.
That's brilliant. That makes sense. I heard the other day that with some music festivals, I think to an extent at the beginning, but certainly certain bars and clubs, the proprietors are hiring, what's the politically correct way of saying hot women, but whatever the PC version of that is, good-looking women, to be there dancing and being in the center. And so meanwhile, you've got the guys are then drawn in. The girls get to drink for free all night because the guys are there buying drinks. They don't realize they've got no chance with her because she's paid. I mean, it sounds like psychologically very messed up, but it fills the place.
It does. There was a restaurant when I was working on 55th and 5th years ago. There was a restaurant owned by a model, and he hired his model friends because that's who he knew. Those were his friends. And every day at lunch, we were at Ernst & Young, and we'd say to each other, hey, should we go have lunch with the beautiful people? And we would go to lunch there all the time. And he did so well that he took his tiny little 1,000-foot, square foot restaurant space and expanded it to one of those giant, big format, 500 cover restaurant formats within a year. I mean, it was remarkable how quickly that strategy worked. And it wasn't even intentional. He was a model, and he had friends who were models, and that was it.
That's brilliant.
But it worked.
It's brilliant. I mean, one of the problems post-COVID has been synagogue attendance and synagogue membership. So I think for our synagogue in Los Angeles, we're going to hire some hot models. And we're going to
You
start
should.
on Yom Kippur. We're going to get them in.
Maybe start with Rosh Hashanah.
We'll start with Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah clickbait, visual clickbait. We got the hottest shawl in LA. Although in LA it's already
I
fairly
think it would work.
high. Another question. What would you say are some of the misconceptions in the world of marketing? Some of the things that people have got ideas about, but aren't. I'm going to ask that again. In your opinion, what are some of the misconceptions about marketing right now?
The misconceptions about marketing right now, the people that you're talking to are your audience. I think too many people are trying to talk to an audience, not understanding that audience and not knowing if that audience is even their audience. A company that's doing it right would be Red Bull, right? So Red Bull, they know that they're never going to appeal to boomers. They know that they can send people flying off cliffs, skiing into crazy ravines, doing the dumbest, craziest stunts ever, and they're going to offend the boomers, and they're okay with that. Whereas a lot of other people, right, they go and they're advertising to an audience that may not care about their product and may not understand their message, and they're not targeting their message enough to that audience. And so a lot of that spend gets lost because of not understanding the audience.
Know your audience, know your potential customer, have that avatar, have that very, very clear.
Yes.
Which makes perfect sense. And what would you say are the biggest challenges facing businesses when it comes to marketing and growth?
I think the biggest challenge is measuring the results of your advertising. When you're doing traditional advertising, building your brand, it's very hard to know if your spend is working because you can't really measure it. You could look at your revenue growing, but if you're advertising in 5 different channels, it's very difficult to say that your revenue is growing because of your radio campaign or because of what's happening on television or what's happening in your print. So without being able to measure traditional marketing, it's very hard to know how to spend your money. And that got way better with the introduction of digital marketing. And now what's happening is people aren't advertising in print or on television. And those companies are all struggling to sell ads right now because digital marketing is so measurable. It's dramatically changing the entire market and helping you actually look at the cost for every acquisition of a customer in a way that wasn't possible before.
Right.
By channel.
Which makes sense. The irony is it still opens up massive possibility for people who do still want to advertise in the print or even go cold calling because a lot of people move away from it and just want to focus on digital. There still is some opportunity there. Do you do any hands-on engagement of that sort when you're working in such a local geographical area?
Do we still do print and radio and TV? Yes, absolutely. We do. We just can't measure it, which drives me nuts, but we do it. And I've been trying to measure it. And I actually years ago started to graph it where I would do a radio campaign and then look at our revenue and I could see the spike. So there was a bit of a spike after a radio campaign or after a print ad. There definitely have been print ads in our local magazines that had dramatic impacts. I know of another business that had one print ad and suddenly blew it out of the park. And I was there when it happened because I was actually eating at that restaurant and seeing how busy it got all of a sudden. And it was all because of one article that got published in a local magazine. So we do, absolutely. It's more based on faith and gut and less on measurable data. We can kind of try to measure some of it.
That's very interesting too, though, because the idea of faith and gut in this world of growth marketing or growth hacking, data-driven marketing, continually tracking results, but still that human element or the superhuman element of what do I feel? How do you stay ahead in this evolving landscape of digital marketing? One thing I'm finding right now is the speed of growth on social channels. I counted the other day and I've kind of hit like 14 accounts, social accounts between obviously Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, not using that much, Pinterest, not so much, Truth Social, Mastodon, I flirted with obviously Twitter as well. Although Truth Social, I think, might die pretty soon because now that the owner is being allowed back on Twitter. But with all with all of this, and then the choices of spend across all of these, and then AI, and now we've got sort of avatars at this particular point, and then like, how do you stay ahead with this?
It's hard. The trick for us has been to just get as many minds as possible involved. So we go through a lot of agencies, not intentionally, but just because as soon as we work with an agency for a while, usually we get to the end of that relationship where it's not adding enough value and we end up switching agencies, and each new agency brings a new perspective. And then I've also found that if you don't talk to those people under 25, the agencies can't really help you because they try to understand what's happening with new technologies, but it's really the people who are in college and high school who know what's happening with those. And the agencies, by the time they figure it out, it's a year or two later. And they also don't master it the same way as someone intuitively would at the age where it's really getting developed in high school and in college. So it's just getting as many people involved as possible and learning from as many different people as you can.
How do you measure success in your marketing campaigns?
I measure success through cost of acquisition. So I'm constantly trying to get a better cost of acquisition. And that formula is how much does it cost in advertising to get one person to pay either for school or for a private event with us, a team building program, a cooking competition. What does it cost to get to that one transaction? And so getting that cost per acquisition from the $7,000 that we had for a moment in time during COVID down as low as it can go. I don't know if there's actually a level where I'm going to say, okay, we're successful, or if I'm always going to be trying to get it better. I feel like it's a constant process where it can constantly get better.
And presumably figuring out where's the point where you can just turn the tap on or turn the volume up and keep on investing and keep on building, as opposed to this issue where you've mentioned there hits a point in Park City where you put so much money into Google, then it just flatlines. So it's finding that point with every platform, presumably. Do you ever work with influencers?
That's right. We're at plateau.
Yeah. Are you working with influencers?
Yeah.
Right.
Right now, no. We did try it. I put an influencer through school, and we paid a third party to hire some influencers for us. And I don't know that any of it really made much of a difference. I feel like it's hit and miss for them as much as it would be hit and miss for us. Sometimes things go viral and sometimes they don't. But even the influencers don't really know when something they publish is really going to make a huge difference.
No, I'm sure.
Unless you're, a Kardashian. Then
which I'm not. If I bump into Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver while I'm still in England, I'll just film it. I'll just try and film them to give a shout out for the Park City Culinary Institute. We'll try. What is the current cost per acquisition for your business?
The target for education, when I first got into the culinary school world, the agencies I was working with had a target of $1,250, but that's changed. The target then was based on campus. This was before COVID. I feel like because of what's been happening with online education, all the numbers are moving so quickly. I don't even know what ours is right now to a level of detail where I could share it accurately, because online education got really interesting. And we have one competitor that is making so much money from online education. The bids are getting higher and higher for the search terms we use, like cooking school, right? If we're bidding on cooking school, they have unlimited money to bid on cooking school. And so it's just putting the cost per lead, the cost per click completely in an unpredictable zone where it could change every day depending on whether or not they're bidding in your market that day, or in a, it's changed a lot. But $1,250 for education, it's probably still a good target to have because, tuition ranges. Ours is $6,000, but other schools, 17, 20, 30, some are 50 grand a year now. So, it's a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money, but at the same time, if you're enrolling someone in a 2 to 4 year college and you've only spent $1,250 or even $2,000 to enroll them, it's worth it. Theoretically, it would make sense because you're getting that much revenue.
So it's less than 10% of their overall, the lifetime value of the customer.
It is depending on tuition. Yeah. I mean, for our tuition, which can be 6 to 10 grand, it's a lot more than that. For a larger school, it's a lot less. And 10% does sound like a lot for marketing.
Does it though? If it depends on what I suppose, yes. If it's a 6,000, I thought it was 6,000 a year throughout, but it depends on what the profit level is. 10%. If it's still a massive profit, it depends. And it depends what it is.
And that's the issue, is that with online education, the margins are so ridiculously high that a school like our big competitor in Colorado can spend a stupid amount of money on advertising because their cost of delivering a curriculum online is pennies.
Right.
They have one instructor teaching 160 people. So for them, yeah, they could spend 80% of their revenue on marketing and still be printing money.
Right, which is good for them. I wonder what the CPA is on an average university, an Ivy League university in America, like how much they're paying to acquire each student. Although they've got the brilliant system of, in American universities, of this Chapter 11 proof, bankruptcy proof student loans.
Yes, federal financial aid is such an amazing boon to private education in the United States. And it doesn't exist. I mean, in other countries, education can be free, but it doesn't go to private institutions the way it does here. And that does make it a lot easier to generate enrollment.
Yeah. Mine was free in England, but now it costs. But hey, things change, life changes.